Some of y'all are tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. Hey, thanks for reading my article in this month's Envision magazine. Let's dive in. I am all about saving a dollar where we can, but I can tell you that many of the savings opportunities you're getting when it comes to frame buying often ends up costing you in the long run. And it's one of those things that we need to be smart about, right? We need to be smart about our spending, how we're running our optometric practice, what we spend in the optical. This is just wise business. However, some of you are much too quick to snag a savings deal without getting real perspective on the value of what you are sacrificing to get that savings. Now, being that our optometric field is the only medical industry that relies on retail sales of goods, like our eyewear, contacts, and glasses, let's be honest, we were never taught the concept of retail science, of how we should sell things. And many of you are sitting here going, well, I've been in optical for umpteen million years and I had to figure it out. And I get it. I totally get it. I did the exact same thing. When I started in optical, I figured it out. But let me tell you, I didn't know what I know now. And what I know now is a very unique perspective in this industry. With the community of Spexy members, I get access to the collective data of hundreds of independent opticals just like yours. And I can track good decisions, bad decisions, the results of those, ordering habits, and so much more. And it's because of my Spexy membership of doctors and opticians that I am able to get a very unique firsthand look of how particular decisions that are made can be great for an optical. And I can also see when these decisions have basically really bad consequences and they save a few pennies, but it costs the optical thousands in sales. Now, this is my information that I share with my Spexy members to make them absolute optical rock stars. And since you followed this link, I'm going to give you a little taste of some of these tips that our Spexy members get. Now, in the article, I talked about 3 common sales specials that are offered by frame manufacturers. So let's dive into them here. Purchasing a quantity for a free frame. So let's work out the scenario really quick. For this brand, you usually inventory, let's say 20 styles on display. However, your team made the decision, by following the advice of your Spexy advisor, that you are going to increase the allotment of how many frames you carry for this brand. And you're going to go from the existing, let's say 20 frame allotment to 24 frames. Cool. And this is perfect timing because your rep is coming in this week. So by the time your rep gets there, you've sold 2 more frames. So you go out, you're visiting with your rep, you replace those 2 frames that have sold, add 4 more, getting you to your 24 frame plan that you have for this brand. Now this is when the frame rep mentions, hey, we're running a special where if you buy 10 frames, you get the 11th one free. And you can sell that 11th one for 100% profit. And this is when you think, well, heck, let's form our frames. I mean, we'll sell through the frames anyway. And there were 3 new ones that we really loved from the rep's bag. Plus, the doctor will be so happy that we had an extra frame that we can make 100% profit on. Seemingly innocent, right? You were planning on only carrying 24 frames because this is the inventory allotment that the sales of that brand have earned. This transaction will increase your planned inventory allotment to 29 frames on display. Well, there are only so many optical spaces in your optical, and you have now 5 extra spaces that were given to this brand that this brand hasn't earned. On top of that, where are those 5 spaces coming from? They're coming from another brand. That you, if you've been doing your job correctly as a frame buyer, that you are taking away those spaces that that other brand has earned. Then to further the point, adding those unearned 5 frames for this brand is going to bring an excess for this brand that again has not been earned by its sales, which means that since it's not earned by the sales, it's decreasing the sales to inventory, which is the return on investment, the ROI that you have of having that brand there. Meaning that you are essentially making the same quantity of sales even though you've invested in an unplanned $300 extra in frames that you don't need. And all for what? So you can get a frame that you didn't pay $75 for? Extra 75 bucks? Is it worth it for $75? Now this offer could be great if the offer happens to be at the time that you're looking to increase your inventory right, that you've been planning. And if it happens to be for the amount that you're planning on increasing, for that exact quantity you're looking to increase, then by all means, please jump on the deal. But if this deal is offered to you and you have not already had a plan to increase your quantity, don't take it. Just simply don't. Just do what you were planning on doing. Don't take the little scheme to try and get more into your optical. Oh, and a side note, if you have a large quantity that you need to reorder, you're doing your optical a major disservice with your terrible reordering habits. I can help with that. Now, I know that was a quick explanation, so if that went a bit over your head, I explain it much deeper in the Frame Turn Mastery series. And if you wait till the end of this video, you'll get a little link to preview it for free. Let's take a look at that second offer, the frame buyback offer. And this is when a rep offers to take another unwanted brand off your hands, where the rep will take those inventory spaces and place their brand there. And in return, the rep also gives you, they take those frames and they give you a credit on the invoice for basically the value of those spaces or the value of those frames that were there. Now, this scenario is great if the brand that is offering the buyback is a brand that you have been looking forward to bringing into your optical already. This is a great solution to go about getting rid of the unwanted brand and allow for you to bring on something that you've been looking forward to trying. Total no-brainer in that scenario, jump on it. However, most of the time, many opticals find themselves in this situation where this is being offered by a brand that's mediocre. And though the optical is looking to get rid of an unwanted, bad, or mediocre brand that's not selling well, this frame buyback often will result in filling up the space with just another mediocre brand. And if this is the case, rather than making a lateral move with just another mediocre brand, a better solution is to hold a closeout flash sale to sell off unwanted brands, right? That unwanted brand that you have that you can't get rid of, and use that capital to buy a brand that's unique and exciting. That's the way that you should use these buyback programs, not just as an opportunity of, oh, it'll help us get rid of these and maybe this one will work. Let's run through the last offer from the article that gets tossed up as a great deal, but often is a total bummer deal for the optical in the long run. Now, we had quite a few of our members get hit with this offer in 2025, so I'm going to lay it out for you how my members basically bring this up to their Spexy advisor during their meetings. The member optical will say, you know, we're looking into bringing on more brands in our optical. Can you go about telling us if brands E, F, G, and H are good sellers for other Spexy members? Now, this is a feature that we offer to our members after looking up the sell-through rates and, you know, how the brands perform. We go back to the optical and let them know, unfortunately, these brands, not great. And the Spexy advisor will make sure to tell them if it's not great for their optical, we let them know. And this is when the member informs us that the manufacturer of these brands is giving an offer that if the optical brought on 6 total brands from their lineup of a brand offerings that they have, the optical will get a 5% rebate on all of the purchases done through that manufacturer. Now, looking at this optical, we have their numbers, so we ran it with them. They had 4 brands already from this manufacturer. We'll call them A, B, C, and D. Now, of the 4 brands, 2 of them are freaking rockin' sellers. They're super great. The other 2, though, pretty mediocre. In total, the optical had sold from those 4 brands 260 frames over the last year. Not bad. This is the conversation I had multiple times with my members that were presented a similar offer from the same manufacturer. And here's what we do. We do the math. So this is what I say to them. Of those brands that you had, A, B, C, and D, because I have their numbers, we say, look, on average, these 4 brands, the frames cost you about $70 each on average. You sold 260 pair last year. That cost was $18,200 for your optical. That 5% rebate would have totaled, are you ready, drum roll? $910. That you would have been saving in a rebate, that you have been giving up basically beautiful optical space that you can be using for something really awesome for 2 more mediocre brands for the cost of what? $900? From the $18,200 that you spent last year on these 4 brands, a $900 savings is pennies in comparison. Plus, you would have to add 2 more of their mediocre brands that are likely not going to sell. Which, if I may point out, you will be much more likely to sell eyewear in your optical by not having your inventory filled with mediocre brands. You guys, we see opticals that are offered this all the time. And many owners think, gosh, you know what? I know those big old checks that I'm writing every month. Yeah, they're huge. And a 5% rebate would be awesome. Not at the cost of sacrificing your very valuable real estate in your optical to save pennies. This is the literal definition of tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. Now, do I think reps are doing this to try and screw you over? No, not at all. I really don't. I know that they believe their brands are the best. That's why they work for the company. Therefore, they can offer you a savings, and they are doing so in goodwill. I really genuinely believe that. But many times, reps have such a myopic view on what is happening with their brands that they don't understand that these types of offers are detrimental to the overall performance of an independent optical. So in 2026, I encourage you to make this a special year, to be intentional about how you merchandise your optical. And if you're serious, you've got a whole Spexy team here to help you. So thanks for joining me and reading this month's Envision magazine. I'll see you again next month.